And how the hell are we here on this Super Bowl recap Monday?
I'm rested.
Seahawks.
Rested.
No, no one's feeling it.
I mean, you played for him for a moment, didn't you?
For a minute, yeah, for a minute. I mean, it reminded me. Again, I said this earlier in the week. It was very similar to the construct of that team, with the exception of, the defense just kind of does a little bit more, as far as the way they pressure, the way they can get stops, the way they make plays. And it's again, dominant. I don't know that I'd put them up there with the Legion of Boom, but this is the beginning of that, right? Like, I think they made their case last night, winning a Super Bowl, largely because of the defensive effort and the way they run the football, but largely their defense. And if they can get back to another one and win 2 in a row, all right, that's putting themselves up there with rarefied air. But just a dominant performance by Seattle. I know we can dig into New England and Drake May and what it looked like, or the history now of Josh McDaniels only scoring 3 points, 10 different Super Bowls combined in the first quarter. So we can dig into all those things, but you got to take your hat off to John Schneider, Mike McDonald, this entire team. Just dominant football in last night's game.
Yeah, congratulations to the Seahawks. Yeah. I think the sentiment still holds true that defenses win championships.
Hell yeah.
At least for this year. In an offensive-heavy league, in an offense pass-first league, we need points and touchdowns and excitement league. A lot of people, it's so interesting. We always talk about how boring a game is when there's not a lot of scoring. And I get it. But as someone who has played defense, I think that we look at last night's game, and you have 2 defensive-minded coaches, 2 defensive background coaches that are in the game, and it was going to be a defensive struggle. Either one of those teams had an opportunity to win that game because of the style of defense that they play. And I think that remains true. I wonder, coming out of the game, what is that? How does that look? Because we've been talking about the coaching, hiring cycle and all of those things. And it's like offensive-minded coaches versus defensive-minded coaches. Moving forward, what does an offensive coach have to do to be able to figure out defensive coaches such as a Mike Vrabel or a Mike McDonald? And Mike is a young dude. And listen, Vrabes doesn't have any signs of slowing down either. I don't think the Patriots have anything to be ashamed of. They made it in a first-year coach's run, and they just didn't have an answer for that defensive front. And I hate to be the one to say it, but I mean, that's what we kind of banged that drum all week during Super Bowl week, is that if they were going to have any chance, they were going to have to establish a run, and they were going to have to block that defensive front. Now, granted, they're disguising of coverages and the way they played, and they stayed on top of the receivers. On defense, was the secondary played a well of a game. Also, is very complete effort by the defense. But it was going to be a chip type of game. Chip away, chip away, chip away. Whoever made the least mistakes, whoever didn't, give the game away, which it kind of did a little bit later on. Pressure got to May. But I thought it was a well-played game, and it just makes me wonder moving forward, how does it pan out for all of these coaches that are coming in? I heard Kyle Shanahan had a lot to say about the matchup and said that Seattle was a better team. Moving into the future, be curious to see offensive coaches, offensive-minded, background-minded coaches versus defensive coaches, because this was 2 defensive coaches.
I don't think anybody from Seattle had a bad game. Like, I was thinking about it. Kicking, punting, defensively, offensively, I really can't think of anybody on the Seahawks that had a bad game. They could run the ball when Sam Darnold needed to throw the ball and make plays through the air. I guess their red zone efficiency wasn't great. That's why they had to settle for the field goals. But they made all of them. Field position, they were punting them and pinning them back multiple times during the course of that game. All around, complete and total dominance by the Seahawks last night. And whatever the final score was, the 29-13, that game really wasn't close. Like, it wasn't close. Mac Hollins, they caught him off guard and they scored that touchdown.
You mean Hannibal Lecter?
Yeah, I mean, that just wasn't. That just wasn't close.
That
was weird.
Looks stupid. Yeah,
that was weird, man. Came up in there with the
and I know he's done it all year. I get that's his shtick. And credit to him, because he only got a few opportunities and he capitalized on the ones he was given. Maybe you can make the case they should have thrown to him more. But I feel like when it doesn't work out, especially in that moment, that big of a stage, it also looks like you're kind of drawing attention to yourself, not your teammates, the whole thing. I don't know. It doesn't ever sit well. He seems like a cool dude, but maybe not the right time to do that.
That pretty boy stuff, man. Like if you saw like a big, strong, strong looking dude, if I'm trying not to go all the way across that border, but he's pretty dudes be thinking that stuff like that is yeah.
It's just a hot dog.
It's just a hot dog. Hey man, I'm just saying.
Hey man,
you're working
too that glizzy.
You just working too hard for attention right there.
Just let him eat it, man.
I'm saying. Some people will really take offense to a dude walking in with handcuffs on and shackles on, to the stadium. I'm just saying.
Especially, a lot going on out there. Right. Now that being said,
hey.
Oh man.
It's just hot dog.
I'm not even going to say whether it's true or not, but someone said during the halftime show there was a huge uptick in calls to ICE. So
no. No.
Oh man.
No.
There it is.
Now it's
that was an overly when we stop and look at, I know you said you don't compare them to the Legion of Boom, but let me tell you something. The dark side, when we look back on this, it may be the most dominant defensive performance in a Super Bowl. It may go. It's going to go down as one. I just, I don't.
I think that has a lot to do though with the youth of New England's offense. I mean, it's the first time in NFL history you've had two rookies who start a Super Bowl on the same side of the O-line, right?
Sure.
I mean, Will Campbell,
he was outmanned.
Prisco
the whole time.
Pointed out. Well, a lot of people were pointing out his short arms. He'll probably move to guard.
Yeah, that was a subtle little knifing from Pete on Friday. Yeah, I think he's going to move to guard.
Did you see DeMarcus Lawrence just push him in the shoulder and let me tell you something.
He couldn't reach him.
Let me tell you.
No.
He just tried to touch me. He couldn't touch him.
I will tell you what's funny. What's funny about that is when you're pass rushing, a rule of thumb, you never swim a guy who's looking at you. You only swim when their head is down. Because if they see you, they're going to throw you out the club. You try to swim over top of a guy who's looking at you, he's going to get all up in your chest and he's going to throw you out of the club. The only time you swim is when their head is down. DeMarcus Lawrence came off the ball, Will looking right at him. He's looking right at him, and he swam him.
Well, yeah, I mean, the guy's hand.
I knew that was a rat.
His hands are coming out of his armpits.
It's a rat, bro. Jurassic Park out that bad, boy. Yeah. Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. He swam him. I was like, forget about it. I also
think you kind of looked at just how young the offense was, the lack of the ability for anyone to get open. I don't know that this was like a great test. I think if you looked at even just the playoffs that the Seahawks have gone through, a lot of familiar opponents. I mean, outside of beating the Rams, who again, great opponent in the NFC Championship game, also a familiar opponent. You beat San Fran. You go through a number of teams that there's a lot of familiarity with, and I'm not trying to take anything away. I would just say it was a really unique path to get to a Super Bowl where you played, multiple teams 3 times this season. You don't see that very often. So look, and again, they'll have the opportunity to prove it. I think they win 2 in a row. They surpassed the Legion of Boom. But they've got to do it 2 years in a row. I mean, that was a defense that took longevity. Them to.
I'm with you there. No, I can.
Well, it's not. I'm just saying, the Legion of Boom won 1 too.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know what I'm saying? And they won it. You think this Super Bowl was dominant? Go back and read through the stats of the first Super Bowl the Seahawks won.
And that was against a much better offense.
Much better offense.
They had a much better offense.
Record-setting.
They had a much better offense.
Record-setting.
Seattle was a much more balanced team. That Legion of Boom
think
team.
So?
They ran the ball last night.
They had
didn't throw it
Marshawn
much.
Lynch. Yeah. They had Baldwin. They had Russ. That was when Dangerous Russ. Didn't they have Walter Jones on that team, like a Hall of Famer? Like, didn't they have Hutch?
I don't think they had,
wasn't Hutch on that team?
Walter Jones.
No,
they didn't have Walter Jones. No. Hutchinson and those guys were on the earlier Super Bowl team that lost.
Oh, I thought they were on that team. They weren't. Oh, well,
no.
They still had a good offense. I don't know. I'm off the top of my head. I know they had a better offense. But based off of Marshawn Lynch and Russ on the offense.
That was early.
Walter
in Russ's
Jones
career.
last year was 2008.
When did they win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, why can't you round up?
2013.
Oh, that's a little ways off.
That's a little bit off.
Yeah, that's a little ways off. That's a whole career off. That's all good.
Well, he should have still been playing.
They could have used
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they didn't need him last night, but they would have had a better offense.
And like Russ back then also wasn't the Russ that he became. He actually didn't become a prolific passer until after Marshawn Lynch left, and then they just relied on him, and he was great.
Dang, so y'all just throwing shade on Seattle's offense? Like, dang.
No, I'm just.
No,
Kenneth Walker was the story of the game, just like Marshawn Lynch was the story of the game.
Exactly. That's why I said they're actually built similar.
Yeah. I don't know.
So.
I thought that was. I don't know the stats, the comparables, because it's been too long. I'm a more recent type of guy, obviously.
You're a recent guy.
I'm a recent. I mean, I am historical on knowing things,
Historical, but recent.
Yeah. I don't know details like stat lines and stuff like that, but I thought that was a very dominant performance. I mean, they were heading towards a shutout. They were close to heading towards a shutout.
I'm with you on the defense. I just think, again, like if you look at if as much as that felt like a dominant performance, go back and look at how dominant the Seahawks were when they beat Denver with Peyton. And again, to Jonas's point, like that was an offense that was – you could say record setting, I think. No one's ever come close to that year Peyton had in the regular season. And they were phenomenal that year.
I mean, you had, think of like Eric Decker, Wes Welker,
Demarius
Thomas.
Well, who they have in the background? Who they have in the backfield? They had like two backs in the backfield too. The one that had the big.
Was that C.J. Anderson though? That
was when the big tear came out of his eye. You remember he was crying, and
that was Noshawn.
Moreno. Yeah. Big old tear. That thing got locked up. It was so big.
That's some hydration.
He needed
right there.
stool softener to get that tear out of his face.
Golly. And the Seahawks beat them out the frame.
Yeah, I remember having to get up early to go air live and do exactly what we was doing, but we did it outside.